Good afternoon, everyone. DTI is indeed very happy to be part in this webinar activity that is spearheaded by the Xavier University College of Agriculture. And this afternoon, let me share with you a brief presentation on the Philippine e-commerce roadmap and the the initiatives done by the DTI-10 for the micro, small, and medium enterprises in the region. Now, the MSME Development Plan provides the overall framework uh, to implement a harmonized approach for the MSME development. This agenda envisions to a more globally competitive uh, MSMEs that are generally integrated, resilient, sustainable, and innovative, thereby performing as key drivers of inclusive Philippine economic growth. Now, this actually is supported by five strategic goals to help our MSMEs. And these are improve business climate, improve access to finance, enhance management and labor capacities, improve access to technology, and of course, improve in access to market. Now, cutting across these strategies is to maximize the opportunities in the digital and internet economy. The Department of Trade and Industry targets actually our micro and small medium enterprises to adopt digital commerce. DTI is currently updating the Philippine Economic Roadmap. The e-commerce Philippines 2020 roadmap has 5 phases. No? So this is actually one is engagement. This is a series of focus group discussion to consult our public and private sector. The phase 2 is the roadmap formulation. Third phase is the regional roadshows. And the fourth is the public launch of e-commerce Philippines 2022 roadmap. And finally, the last phase is the communication, information, and advocacy campaign on e-commerce Philippines 2022 roadmap. So what have we done so far? No? Actually, we've done series of focus group discussions already, stakeholder consultations in the regions, and this covers the e-commerce ecosystem. This series of sessions define the e-commerce ecosystem. The discussion that updates the Philippine e-commerce Philippine roadmap and the e-commerce architecture. Now, DTI engaged in these activities, the digital platforms, the payments, logistics, and the government, and asked them about the impediments of e-commerce growth and the strategies on how to address the gaps. Now, you may ask who are actually crafting, no? Who are crafting the e-commerce roadmap. The primary groups include, of course, our private sector and representatives from the public sector. The private sector includes the digital platform, the fintech, the logistics service providers, banks, non-financial institutions, and intermediaries. The public sector is, of course, represented by the national government agencies, the GOCCs, including, of course, our Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. The PCE Roadmap 2016-2020 was launched way back in February 2016. And this presents the Philippine strategic plans, policies, and other support measures to harness the benefits of e-commerce for the country. Its main objective is actually to contribute 25% of the country's gross domestic product by 2020. Its Asia in Action Plan is based on the key areas highlighted in the APEC Digital Prosperity Checklist. The primary results of our initial e-commerce consultation by way of updating, the preliminary results of the e-commerce Philippines 2020, by way of updating the 2020, the 2016-2020 Philippine economic or Philippine e-commerce roadmap include the defining and determination of the e-commerce architecture. So this is actually the output, no? The definition of the e-commerce architecture. So we will try to know what are or who are or what is the e-commerce architecture. The e-commerce architecture starts with having, of course, the proper infrastructure in place as they are to enable the appearance of platforms. And of course, we have the platform as part of the architecture, such as marketplaces and online traders, retailers connects the buyers and the sellers. Then we have the enablers. They make it easy to the buyer and to the purchase and sellers to buy. Business-friendly regulation is another architecture, and consumer protection, trade and tax ensures the well-being of e-commerce economy while safeguard the buyers and the sellers' rights. And finally, the end goal is to help sellers and buyers to help out to reach each other without hassles and constraints. The basic e-commerce ecosystem involves the customers, of course, the mode of payment, the online sellers, and the logistic partner. Now, again, cutting across this ecosystem are the digital platform, intermediaries, and the policy implementation mechanism of the government. Now, the e-commerce Philippines 2022 roadmap adopts the following outline. So there will always be, of course, our vision. This is for 2030. The end plan targets and revised matrix, the strategic framework, and of course, you will see there the strategies and initiatives and programs. Now, based on the focus group discussions, from the various consultations from our stakeholders, this is what this is what they envisioned for e-commerce Philippines. According to the digital platform enablers, their vision is that by 2030, e-commerce in the Philippines is already plug and play, safe, reliable, easy to use, and efficient, and available nationwide, especially in areas not easily reached. E-commerce in the Philippines shall be supported by a national or a universal IDs, faster access to internet, better infrastructure. Where majority of the MSMEs are able to sell quality goods online, goods online to buyers, and confident of timely delivery and remitting payment online. They envision that by 2030, platforms comparable with other e-commerce platforms with other countries, and then they said e-commerce in the Philippines is the new mindset for Filipino. Now, according to the logistics services providers, they envision that the e-commerce Philippines 2020, 2030, they said that by 2030, logistics services in the Philippines shall be the most efficient, fastest, and the cost of which shall be the lowest in Southeast Asia. While according to payment gateways, they envision that by 2030, the Philippines is a cashless society already, and buoyed by revenues from e-commerce, and driven by seamless customer experience, convenient, verifiable, audible, and with a secure digital connectivity infrastructure. All goods and services are available online and accessible to all. He said, e-commerce is indistinguishable from commerce. So The 2022 strategic framework focuses on three S actually. These are: one is security, second is speed, third is structure. This is resulting all in all to sales. No? So let me discuss the first S. This is speed. No? This is one of the frameworks that we should see in our roadmap. First S is speed. This is the first component. This gives consumers access to time-saving options through swift transactions and delivery of products and services. Improvements of internet infrastructure should also be considered in order to maximize the potential of e-commerce in the country. The Philippines lag behind the other ASEAN countries in terms of internet speed. Hence, there is a dire need to address our speed on how we do e-commerce. Now, how do you think we can do this? How do you think we can increase the speed? One is increase the speed of our reliable and affordable internet by encouraging investments in telecommunications and value-added services investments. Second, this can be achieved if we maintain regulatory environment that support innovation, scale up these innovations, and develop further as advanced technologies. Third, we need to revisit e-transaction laws and develop enforcement mechanisms to increase speed of transactions and payments. Fourth, we need to accelerate e-services such as the e-payments. Other concerns we need to look into is to improve delivery and logistics systems, rationalize policies of messagerial and delivery services, and reduce border clearance and lead time and abolish truck ban. Now, another framework or another S is the security. The framework details the need to conduct a massive info campaign on e-commerce and its benefits. This also calls for an improved internet government towards trustworthy and secure e-commerce through blockchain technologies and digital signatures. There are actually efforts now being done by our DICT for the digital registration of digital signatures. We also need to help businesses in cybersecurity and conduct capability programs for them, such as cybersecurity orientation. Also, we need to enact laws and update regulations on consumer protection for internet transactions and enforce strictly online violations against intellectual property and data protection laws. The last structure, the last S is actually under the structure component. We are building a future-ready government and private sector that shall thrive in a digital economy and Industry 4.0. Now, how can we do this? No? We can do this by creating a competitive business-to-consumer ecosystem, e-commerce ecosystem to attract foreign investments, promoting e-government services that will cater the needs of the public in the digital economy. We also need to encourage the ease of doing business by streamlining government approvals, no, for business permits and licenses. Of course, we also recognize the importance of manpower to be able to build a solid structure for our e-commerce strategies. We will endeavor to generate more IT skills and Industry 4.0 workforce. It would also be a good initiative to include digital literacy and e-commerce in our current educational curricula. We also need to support the emerging business in the gig economy, the mobile e-commerce, and social e-commerce. Initiatives to promote nationwide logistics zoning system an enabling policy for e-commerce logistics hub should also be taken into consideration. And finally, we need to promote financial inclusion in the country by increasing the number of Filipinos with accounts with financial institutions or service providers. So these are our proposed strategies, proposed e-commerce strategic initiatives. Now, the various initiatives that we conducted across the 3S framework, again, the speed, the structure, and the security are the following. We have the initiative on awareness, training and education, infrastructure, policy, process reforms, program, and knowledge management. So what is this awareness initiative? Now, information and education campaign on the benefits of e-commerce, market digitalization, and cashless transactions. So this is the first thing that we do. This also includes digital literacy, awareness on the government guidelines, standards, and the data privacy, and cyber security. Another initiatives that we should do is on training and education. This is the conduct of e-commerce boot camps, skills retooling, upskilling to generate e-commerce and IT savvy workers. Also, to achieve the 3S, another initiative which is the infrastructure. This is actually development on infrastructure on internet coverage and connectivity, offshore logistics transaction hub, and electronic payments facilities to accelerate acceptance of cashless payments. Another initiative is on the policy. Our government rules prescribing transparency of product information, specification, and labeling for products and services sold online. And also another should be a strong online complaints mechanism. So there will be a lot of us will be patronizing because we are campaigning for digital marketing, but we need to assure our consumers that they are protected and we have a strong online complaints system. The passage of Innovative Startup Act, or RA 10337, which streamlines government and non-government initiatives in both local and international spheres to create new jobs and opportunities, improve production, and advance innovation and trade in the country. Another initiative to achieve the 3S is the process reforms. What is this? This is the implementation of eGovTech for various government agencies, online transaction and online portal. An example of this is actually the DTI. We already have our online business name registration, where if a client has the hardware and the internet connection, you can easily apply your business name registration online and pay online and print your business name immediately. So you don't need to go to the office. Another initiative is our is the programs. No, these are actually one program is the Building Trust and Integrity program to validate the legitimacy and reputation of online sellers to reduce cash on delivery transactions and increase utilization adoption of cashless and electronic utilities of payments. Another program is the Logistics Service Program. This is actually initiated by PhilPost to reduce the logistics costs, no? And online sellers competitive program, which promotes digitalization of our MSMEs. Now, last initiative to really achieve the framework, which is the 3S, the speed, the security, and the structure, is the knowledge management. And so what is this? This is the conduct of studies on online consumer behavior, delivery index, domain cost and management, and feasibility studies on having an integrated Know Your Customer database with the national ID system. So uh, let me now discuss to you the digital initiatives of DTI 10 that we have done actually already. So maybe you may ask, does the pandemic trigger a change in system, in policies, and in consumer behavior? Definitely so. The pandemic has accelerated innovation and greater focus on resilience and sustainability. There are actually key technology trends that occurred. No? We are so familiar with this. We already have the digital and contactless digital payments. And this is actually to also avoid the spread of the virus that we are actually experiencing. We already have the online shopping, right? And we also experience delivery systems already in our city, from food to grocery to supplies and many more. We also have innovations on 3D printings, which offers flexibility in production. We also all have now the telehealth. We can consult anything that we feel over telephone already. And more so for government, especially, we already have the distance learning and online transactions of government services. These technologies help reduce the spread of the virus while helping the businesses open. Offers new businesses opportunities to discover new, better, and more resilient ways of doing things. Enterprises with a greater innovation emerged resilient, even recorded gains, no, amidst the pandemic. Under the new normal, we are strengthening our online business registration and conduct online mediation for consumer complaints. As I have mentioned earlier, you can already apply your business name registration through our website, the DTI, the www.dti.gov.ph. You can pay online with the different payment facilities, and you can immediately print your business name there. We also have our online mediation for consumer complaints, meaning if a consumer is aggrieved in a certain consumer transaction, we can facilitate the consumer complaints through online mediation conferences. We are also conducting webinars, online webinars, and online training sessions to our clients. Topics would range from consumer welfare, entrepreneurship, marketing, e-commerce onboarding, online shopping and transactions, accessing markets, even sharing the experiences of our MSMEs, especially in how they survive in this time of pandemic, among others. All these initiatives are aimed for the MSMEs to gain information that will really equip them to be competitive and market ready, not only locally, but also internationally. The Kapatid Mentor Me mentoring program of DTI in coordination with the Philippine Center of Entrepreneurship is about capacitating our MSMEs with basic knowledge and skills by business mentors and coaches. This is actually a 12-week, 10-module Kapatid Mentor Me program where mentees are engaged in mentoring sessions to scale up their business operations in the areas of marketing, human resource, taxation, and more. This month of September, we will have the graduation of the 41 participants that we call the 41 mentees who will be the pioneer PMME online program graduates for Region 10. For Cagayan de Oro, Of the 41 mentees, we have the share of 12 because the participants actually are coming from the different provinces of Region 10. So they will be graduating no next month, next week, our pioneer group. Now, access to loans from our from the small business corporation. This is the financing institution of DTI, or we call them SB Corp, no? And can now be accessed online. Initially, the processing was done by manual. There is a form that you will fill out, you submit to the in charge, and now they are opening the program to our qualified MSMEs, and they can apply it through their website. HTTPS colon dash SBRS .sbgfc.org.ph. So that's where you will access, you will get the form and you submit there your application. Now another program is our Fab Lab. No? The role of actually Fab Lab is fabrication laboratory. So the role of Fab Lab in the ecosystem is to capacitate the industry for them to be innovative and competitive. Fab Lab is an enabler that encourages new ideas of doing things using the latest technologies in fabrication or production in order for the industry to transition to Industry 4.0. It is along this line that DTI is supporting the establishment of Fab Lab in MESU IIT in Iligan City and at the USTP. Next is we need to increase awareness about inclusive business models. This is actually partnering particularly the large to small businesses and integrating in the value and supply chain. In partnership with the Bureau of Investments, we actually facilitate business to business matching activities, the matching companies with raw materials requirements with suppliers. Our B2B virtual platform via Zoom meetings made considerable gains. No? Just recently, we were able to facilitate the needs of a big feed mill company in Bukidnon for supply of corn and cassava. And 6 farmer cooperatives in Bukidnon and Misamis Oriental successfully negotiated for corn and cassava supply for over 6 months for 14 million pesos. Because of the pandemic, no? So it's really a success of that B2B matching. Now, because of the pandemic, after 20 years of organizing physical regional trade fairs inside our malls, the first ever Kahimunan Regional Virtual Trade Fair was organized. Now, this is actually a 5-day online marketing event. We started last August 26 and it ended last September 17. That was actually one of the core events of the Cagayan de Oro's Higala Ay Festival Fiesta celebration. There were 200 MSMEs participating in the web store, and we have the B2B, as I've mentioned, and the FB live selling events. Now, the web store actually features products from 5 provinces of northern Mindanao. So from Bukidnon, Misamis Occidental, Lanao del Norte, Camiguin, and Misamis Oriental. And this highlights the region as an excellent producer of processed food, coffee and cacao products, beverage, snack food, wearables, and home-style products using silk, abaca, bamboo, and other indigenous materials. This project actually seeks to provide digital marketplace through e-commerce for our regional micro, small, and medium enterprises. Now, there remain challenges, but we will continue to work together with the private sector and government partners in the fulfillment of the Philippine e-commerce roadmap 2020. We seek to provide platforms to develop new, more resilient products, processes, systems, and operations in the medium to long term. We pursue innovation, integrate digital economy development, work for the development of our agri-based and ICT industry clusters, and sustain government, academe, and industry collaboration. So let us continue to collaborate towards shared prosperity across all provinces in the region. Thank you very much and good afternoon.
Thank you so much, Ms. Almer. Now let's go directly to our Q&A. For our first question, in your own assessment, what percentage of MSMEs in Cagayan de Oro are ready for e-commerce? And what are the government support that DTI offers to capacitate the MSMEs?
The percentage of MSMEs in Cagayan de Oro that are already ready for e-commerce, I think we have to siguro define a bit on the readiness. No, okay. Readiness could also could mean the technical skill, the know-how, the capability, and it could also mean readiness in terms of physical, no, such as our infrastructure, our cell sites, connectivity, devices, and logistics. Now, in terms of technical know-how, since Cagayan de Oro City is the capital center for northern Mindanao, technical knowledge is highly accessible. And I should say our readiness should range from 60 to 70% already. But in terms of physical infrastructure, this is a bit challenging considering that the demand at this time is very high, and currently we only have two providers. So at times it is really very challenging. Now, on what we are doing as a government, as DTI, to support our MSME, well, DTI supports e-commerce, no, through encouraging our MSMEs to digital onboarding. So, as mentioned earlier, we've been doing a lot of webinars to inculcate, no, to capacitate our MSMEs on e-commerce, and we've been doing a lot of mentoring. We've been doing a lot of coaching to our MSMEs to capacitate them in order for them to maximize the e-commerce opportunities.
Thank you so much, Ms. Almer. Actually, 60 to 70% is already a good number. And of course, with the help from DTI, we are sure that our MSMEs will be 100% ready in the future. So now let's go to our second question. So ma'am, given that our farmers have limited knowledge and skills on ICT, in your opinion, what do you think should the government and other support agencies like the academe do to encourage farmer entrepreneurs to engage in e-commerce as a business platform?
I think we have to do a lot of levels of intervention from the different sector. I think right now we need to further strengthen the intervention of our agricultural training institute, who are actually, they've been conducting series of webinars to our farmers, and they have accredited farming field schools, where our farmer entrepreneurs can actually benchmark. Now, another thing, we need maybe to increase the number of our, as I said, our cell sites, our towers in the Philippines, because if we compare, we will compare Philippines with other countries. We are actually, we only have very few, and that lessens our connectivity. And so, but we're happy that the ICT now has a program on rural impact sourcing, no, to address this concern. Now, another thing to do to address this question is maybe in the LGU level, no, streamlining in the process of giving permits, no, to put up towers. No, that is one, and we are happy that in Cagayan de Oro there is already an ongoing action taken about this matter. But still, we should expand this to our rural, barangays, to rural areas for interconnectivity, and so that even farmers in the far-flung areas will be able to access the internet. And lastly, as for DTI, no, we have actually programs in place already to help our farmers, no, on board. In fact, we have what we call Rapid Growth Program and the Negosyo Center program to support our farmers. And part of the advocacy of these programs is for our farmers to engage in e-commerce. And of course, the Academ has always been our strong partner, no, in delivering the services to our MSMEs through our negosyo centers.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Indeed, it needs collaboration from the government agencies to the LGU to our academe in order to encourage our farmers to go into the e-commerce business. So now, let's go to our third and last question for Miss Almer. So, ma'am, what skill sets do you think students and recent graduates should possess if they want to venture into e-commerce, especially in food and agribusiness?
On the required skill sets, well, our students and new graduates are already well versed in with the technology. So maybe if there are skills that need be for them, maybe on the agribusiness and on farm production, which is basic, no. But this should be incorporated with business skills, no, which should include the marketing, the operation, and management, no, human resource management, and maybe financial management. Thank you.